Beer is the most consumed alcoholic beverage worldwide, with more than 150 billion liters produced each year. Made from natural ingredients, it is bottled with astonishing speed. But how is craft beer made? Remind we have a giveaway of a $100 value item of your choice for the first 1,000 subscribers. Hurry up and don't miss it. Craft beer has become a popular alternative to mass-produced beer from big brands. Alongside the big breweries, there is a unique class of intrepid artisan brewers and even thousands of ardent beer lovers who prepare it at home. In craft breweries, brewers work with passion and dedication to create unique beers with high-quality ingredients and meticulous attention to detail at every stage of the process. The basic recipe for beer has not changed much over thousands of years. Most beer is made from malted barley and another source of fermentable starch such as wheat or rice, along with hops, the flowers of a hemp-like plant, yeast, a single-cell fungus, and water. The first step in making beer is to transform the barley, known as malting. Small barley grains fill huge steel tanks and are soaked in water, allowing the grains to germinate or start to sprout. This softens the grain and provides basic malt flavor. After germination, the barley is dried. The more the barley is dried, the darker and toastier the beer tastes. The barley is now called malt. Milling the malt is the first stage of the beer-making process. In the mill, the malted barley grains are broken apart. Breaking the outer shell of the malt helps release the starch from inside the grain. The brewmaster ensures that the broken malt is properly mixed in the next step, the mash tun. The malt grains must be crushed to better access and fully dissolve the starch inside. The grain is crushed so that it can dissolve in water more easily, while ensuring that the shell remains as intact as possible to facilitate subsequent filtering. From the mill, the grain falls by gravity directly and freshly ground into the mash tun, where hot water awaits it. The hot water reactivates the natural enzymes of the crushed malt, causing the starch to convert to sugar, which dissolves in the water. The water temperature is 64 degrees Celsius, and the mashing process is accompanied by the enzymatic transformation of the grain starch into different types of sugars. During mashing, various natural enzymes from the malt are activated, which transform the grain starch contents into different types of sugars. The resulting liquid is called wort. This creates the wort that later enters the filtering tank, where the beer grains are separated. After mashing is complete, the mixture is transferred to the filter tank. This tank has a false bottom that acts as a strainer, gradually separating the wort from the grain residues while hot water is added from the top of the tank to facilitate the process and extract the required amount of wort for the recipe. The clear liquid obtained as a result of filtration is pumped into the boiling kettle, where the second crucial ingredient for beer is added, hops. The wort is carefully brought to a boil, and at the exact moment required by the recipe, the brewmaster adds aroma hops, sometimes in different stages, compressed into pellets. Hops may not seem like much, but they are the star of the beer recipe. Hops will not only impart bitterness, flavor, and aroma to the beer, but also provide antibacterial and preservative properties. The ingredients are boiled in the boiling kettle. The boiling process aims to achieve the expansion of the beer extract and the transformation of the bitter substances contained in the hops. The boiling process lasts about 60 minutes and must then be transferred to the centrifuge. During the centrifugation process, the proteins and hops are separated. A circular movement at high speed of the wort accumulates the impurities in the central part of the tank and allows the clean wort to be extracted before transferring it to the fermenters. It is necessary to quickly cool it from the boiling temperature to the working temperature of the dark beers. After boiling, the infusion is cooled and transferred to the fermenting tank where alcohol will be produced. It is cooled to 16 degrees Celsius with the help of a heat exchanger and pumped to the long fermentation tanks where the yeast converts the sugar into alcohol and carbon dioxide. During the transfer of the wort to the fermenters, yeast is added, which multiplies while feeding on the sugars of the wort and transforms them into alcohol. At this point, the wort has approximately 10% sugar. Yeast is a small organism that eats all the sugar, expels carbon dioxide, and creates alcohol that makes for a delicious beer. The yeast allows the beer to acquire all its flavor while converting the remaining sugars into carbon dioxide and alcohol, giving the beer its carbonation and alcohol content. At the end of this process, the wort will have turned into beer. Without fermentation, the work would only be a barley soup. Fermentation usually lasts between 5 and 12 days, depending on the beer being produced. It is a natural process. When fermentation is finished and the yeast consumes all the sugar, the temperature of the beer is reduced to 0 degrees Celsius to begin the aging process. This is how beer is naturally carbonated. When the fermentation process ends, the yeast cells start to fall asleep and sink to the bottom of the tank. The leftover yeast is then removed from the fermenter, but the yeast cells are still alive and hungry. They will live long enough to make about 9 more batches of beer. However, the beer is not ready to drink. It has to go through a centrifuge on its way to the aging tank. With the centrifugal force of the centrifuge, the yeast and other suspended solids are eliminated. It is then transferred to the aging tank, where it is cooled and allowed to mature under a protective layer of carbon dioxide that prevents contact with the air. In this phase, the beer acquires its intense spicy aroma and characteristic flavor. It is also the time to check and verify the effects of the boiling process. The beer is mainly checked and verified for quality during daily inspections. The brewer checks beer parameters such as color, taste, aroma, and carbonation, which are of vital importance. Each brewery has its own recipe for how long its beer should age. 5 weeks is the magic number that allows all the ingredients to blend before being sent through pipes to the finishing tank. Here, the beer reduces its temperature to 0 degrees Celsius. Any remaining yeast gradually settles to the bottom of the tank. It is then transferred to a flow pasteurizer, where the taste of the beer is stabilized and its shelf life for human consumption is prolonged. Pasteurization takes place at a temperature of 70 degrees Celsius, which slightly affects the taste and aroma. Before bottling, the beer is filtered, allowing for the elimination of turbidity and possible waste generated during fermentation. The finished beer is ready for bottling. The factory recycles almost 60% of its bottles, and it is estimated that empty bottles can be reused up to 10 times. The empty bottles are carefully taken out of the boxes, sorted, washed, and disinfected, preparing them for a thorough cleaning with steam. 40,000 bottles are cleaned per hour. Then the old labels are removed, and they are returned to the production line. This line recycles up to 500,000 bottles per day. Next, a state-of-the-art camera detects any imperfection or defect, and the bottle is discarded. It is time for bottling. The beer is poured through a special tube that reaches almost to the bottom, so the beer doesn't foam in the bottle. Then, the caps are placed on the bottled drink, and it is packaged in cardboard boxes. It is now ready to be taken to the market and placed on store shelves. Give the video a like if you liked it, and share it with someone who might be interested. Also, subscribe to this channel by activating the notifications to keep learning. Bye-bye.